And we're live. Welcome to A/B testing. Hi,
Nice
Alex.
jingle. Hi, Bianca.
Yeah, I'm testing out different jingles every week, so this is wonderful.
We had to share a fun fact at a meeting recently, and Bianca's was that she can sing.
You're not
Wow.
supposed to tell the people because now
It's a
it'll be like
skill.
wow, can you break into song? I have to make sure
Okay.
I mean
You open the stream breaking into song, Bianca.
these are good points. Wow. These are very valid. Okay. Wow. Great observations. Great observations. So, Alex, what have you done? What were you doing today? What were you doing today?
Yeah,
What
I actually just got off. This is going to be a long day for me. I just got off of a webinar that I ran. I run a program called Twilio Startup Labs because I'm a
okay.
developer evangelist for startups. In Twilio Startup Labs, the whole idea is helping kind of like founders, technical founders, product managers, people that are building, helping them think about how to create amazing customer experiences, right? I don't know. I feel like we just go through the world and we know what's a good experience and what's not, right? We know the companies that we like to interact with and we don't, and maybe we think about why. Nowadays, all I do is think about why, because that's my
Mm-hmm.
job. And so I get to share that with you. So this one specifically, we were talking about the idea of omni-channel. So using different channels together to create a really amazing customer experience. So when I talk about omni-channel, I'm talking about, text messaging, voice, WhatsApp, email, I mentioned a little bit like the products that you build and the social channels. Like there's so many different ways, and it's not just about being on every channel, it's about using the channels together to communicate and create really awesome customer experiences. And so yeah, I have a lot of fun doing those presentations. I have a lot of fun building presentations. And so that was, it was a fun, it's fun. And I get to talk to people and share great stories. And yeah, so it's that was what my morning was.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool. Pretty cool. I also
Mhm.
like just what you're doing with the Twilio Startup Labs, especially since a lot of times founders, they're doing things on their own. You're building in a silo. And I think really being able to get those refreshers, it just is so valuable. And I think, Twilio Startups Labs, you're not taking them to class, but I do think it's a good reminder, on how we're able to support founders. So
Yeah.
I really, really like that
Yeah,
approach.
it's I don't know. I feel like do you know that like feeling where it's like if you're shopping for a car, you start to notice that car on the road all the time. It almost feels like that a little bit where like being in a business where we help people communicate, I
Mm,
notice communications a lot more. And that's great. I'm it's a lot of fun. It's better than early in my career I worked in data centers. So those are like the giant buildings that house like servers and all those things. And so I would occasionally like walk around like more industrial areas and be like, oh, that's a 1.5 megawatt generator there. Oh, those are some roof mounted air conditioning systems. It's cool maybe for some people. Anyone here mechanical engineers? But like
mhm.
for most, for this is a little bit more omnipresent, like thinking about customer experience that we really love. And so it's a lot of fun for me.
No, it's pretty cool. So you started talking about this thing omni-channel.
Mhm.
So, okay, omni-channel, we're meeting people different places. When do you feel like you were first exposed to like a really great omni-channel experience?
Um, I'm sure if I like think back further, there's probably some, but like there's one that sticks out to me because it happened while I was at Twilio. And so like I
Mhm.
have this thing now where if I ever get a text from a company, I do two things. I use the Twilio lookup API to see if they're a Twilio customer or not, because I'm curious. And I text them back and see what happens.
Mm.
And for the most part, Twilio customer or not, great. I'm happy to see that people are using it. But for the most part, when I text the like random numbers back that I get, it's usually like either I get nothing or I get a canned response that's like, this inbox is not monitored. Um, except for one time. I mean, it's happened since I've had a few other good ones, but like the first time that I noticed it happened, this company Ridwell, which I featured on a different Twilio Startup Labs that I did a few months ago. And so Ridwell is a company that they put this little white box on my front porch. And then every 2 weeks, they come around in a van and they collect hard to recycle items. So things like light bulbs, batteries, plastic film, all sorts of things that otherwise would end up in a landfill, and we can keep out of landfills if we're good about it. Um, and there was an issue where they were supposed to pick up some styrofoam for me and they didn't. So I text them and I was like, hey, you guys didn't pick up the styrofoam that I asked you to pick up. And they, within a few minutes, were back like, oh, let me check with the driver. Let's see what happened. Hey, we talked to Garrett. You were trying to put some things that we don't actually take in styrofoam. So like this went from like, I was a little bit frustrated to like, oh, they just like solved my issue in a few minutes. Like that was so nice. And it's because they have two-way texting set up with their customer support and their customers and with all their drivers. So all the people on the ground that are interacting with me, they can talk to all of them via SMS. And they were able to solve my problem so quickly. And after that happened, I was like, I need to get them. I need to interview them. So Bianca was on that interview too. It was a lot of fun to talk to them. But like that was maybe the one where I'm like, these guys have it figured out. These guys know what they're doing. They know why they're doing it. They are super customer focused. And so I'd say that that's the one that like that was when I was like, okay, this is really good. And that also inspired me at work to be like, and now I'm going to go and find the startups that are doing an awesome job at this. And I'm going to make sure that I get to talk to them so that, they can share their story with everybody else.
Yeah, it's pretty yeah, I loved talking to Ridwell. I think also Ridwell to me, they understand that like the customer is not going to be at the same place. And when I think about omni-channel experiences, I'm also thinking about airlines. I feel like they do a great job of that. 'Cause in their mind, they're like, the place that you start is probably gonna not going to be the place that you're ending up. I'm not holding the same device or not making a transaction once I'm at the airport. So even understanding like maybe I'll send you a text message, or maybe I need to send you an email for this, or maybe I need to send you a push notification. So I think airlines really understand where they have to meet you. They also are conveying different messages. So even that aspect of omni-channel, I know a lot of times folks who are building things, you're not really thinking about the multiple channels. I think we've thought a lot about, oh, like let me focus mostly on email. Email's the thing. SMS is a lane, but I think sometimes some of these other spaces and places could get like overlooked for sure.
I I definitely agree. And like I think airlines do a really good job, right? I think that I'm generally pretty happy with like my communications. I'm in Denver, United Hub. I tend to fly United. I think that they do a good job generally. Um, and so like I agree with you. I think they're good, and I like a lot of the notifications. Right, I like being able to chill wherever I want in the airport for as long as I can, and they're going to send me a text like, "Hey, we're getting ready to board." So I don't really need to think about it. I can just like be close enough to the gate, and then when I'm ready, I can go head over there. Um, that's a really cool thing. Brent, if you want to switch over to my screen really quick, you were talking about like what we think about as startups, and this image isn't the best quality, but like when I was working on my startups, I like lived in by the lean canvas, right? This was the thing that I built my company on, right? This was my business plan. And we talked about all these little things all the time, right? Who are your customers? Who are your early adopters? What's your value proposition? What's your unfair advantage? What's your solution? Key metric, like the one that I think was like the last that we ever talked about. And like, I basically was just like, I don't know, we talked to people, was channel, right? It's that little truck. It wasn't an area that like you think about as a small startup. And if I'm being honest, when you're really early, I actually think that's okay. I think that early stage startups, you need to focus on what are you doing to actually hit your customer, and or to solve their problem. What's the pain point that you're fixing, and how are you fixing it, right? Like, I get that. But as soon as you start to scale and grow, you need to figure out how you're reaching your customers in a way that they're going to love, because that's the thing that's going to work for you. Um, I've talked to a bunch of different founders in the days where like a lot of their first MVP products, and I did this for some of my MVPs too. It's like they can text you on the personal number and you'll respond, right? Or like you're monitoring all those things. I had one startup I worked on that we basically ran everything through Meetup. Like that was like our big marketing platform. And I was on the Meetup messaging boards every single day, responding to what people were asking. I was like super engaged. And, I needed to be to make the startup work in that moment. And so I just think that like we do this normally, but maybe we don't think about it holistically. Like we just go to wherever the customers are and talk about it. But I really, my goal here at Twilio, if I can leave my like flag in the ground legacy, is like I want people to be like, Twilio's going to help me figure out that channel box. Alex and the Twilio Startup Labs program, like they're gonna help me figure out that little truck of how I reach my customers and how I engage with them, because it's just like it's so important.
Yeah, and it's often super, super overlooked. Yeah, it's super overlooked because it's like,
Mhm.
I think also when you're so focused on just surviving, just building, right? We can spend a lot of times building, and even that aspect of like of amplifying can be very like, oh, this seems so marketing, or this seems, why should I even focus on this? You can specifically be focused on the builds, but it's like, why are you building if folks can't see or engage with your product? So
Mhm.
this to me is another avenue or vehicle of just making sure all the right customers, anyone who wants to receive and connect with your product, has a way to do so. And I do think a lot of times it could get super overlooked and also just very saturated in one particular area. And I really love just the reminder that it's also an art form, and you're figuring out when you want to engage certain channels versus others. And yeah, I do wonder, like, were there certain things that popped out for you? Like, I know, yeah, like how are folks thinking about these channels, would you say?
Yeah. And just so people can see this, because I need to find a better quality image when I share this, but like it says channels, list your path to customers, inbound or outbound. Yeah, we had a lot of really good questions in our conversation today. And a lot of it was like, where do I get started? Right? Like this sounds great, but how do I start? Um, which I think is a really, really valid question. And unfortunately, there's no one answer, right? It depends on how you're already engaging with your customers, who your customers are, how you want to engage. Um, but like, from a technical standpoint, right now, SMS is a challenge. So like maybe don't start with SMS, maybe try WhatsApp or try phone or try email. Bill Higby, he's one of our colleagues. He's he's a senior product marketing manager who specializes in like marketing and notification use cases across all channels. And his thing was like, hey, you got to start with email. Like email needs to be your number one. It's the most preferred. It's the way that most businesses interact with their customers now. And I think that's great advice, right? Like start with email. That's a great way to start. And then see, are you getting the engagement that you want? Are people responding to you in the way that you want? And you can look, I don't know what the numbers are, but we do a bunch of reports. Like we had a Forrester report that looked at customer engagement, and it's, there's benchmarks, and you can see, are you above or below that benchmark? And maybe if you're below, hey, maybe try SMS, find different ways. Or maybe if you're at, maybe you want to still increase that. Readwell actually did an experiment once where they stopped using text message. This is before I joined. They started with only text message. They were like basically a text message distribution list when they were small. And then they went to having an app and having email, and they weren't getting people to opt in to have their stuff picked up. So they went back to SMS, and all of a sudden their opt-in rates went really high. So, you're going to have to run experiments. It's going to be different for every company. And like, I don't know where to get started, but that was the question that came up a lot.
Yeah, even that note around experiments, I think a lot of times folks are like, "Give me the answers. I want it now." But really being able to understand that power of experimentation, in that you have to find what works for you. Like we can only give you suggestions or ideas on what we've seen work, but at the end of the day, you have to try. You have to get out there, and that can be very scary. That could be very daunting for a lot of folks. And Yeah, I think, the first time you launch something, the first time you're trying a new channel, it could definitely be super daunting. So I feel like I don't want to minimize that part, but I do think, what will we ever learn if we don't try,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think finding ways to make the experiment, I think there's two, like you got to find ways to like measure and whatnot,
Mhm.
but finding ways to make the experiment easy to run is really important. And that's something that I think people don't pay enough attention to, because like, I don't know, if I look back on my time as a startup, the thing that I think I did, the mistake that I made repeatedly the most, was I over bootstrapped. I tried to do too much myself. And I think there's like a big build versus buy decision. So like when you are starting this out, kind of there's two ways that I would go first. I would either, if you are a developer and you are really trying to bootstrap things, go the route of like building something really small, right? Build a studio flow that sends a text message that you receive over to Airtable, and then you can reply through Airtable. That's like one way to do it. Or just like get an MVP that doesn't take a lot of time to build, to see if people are engaging on that channel. Or go find a partner who does it, right? One of the companies that we talked to that won the AI Startup Searchlight recently, or was one of the winners, was Smith AI, and they have a whole contact center tool for kind of like local small businesses to engage across channels. So maybe find a partner that's going to help you with it, or find like, there's some CRMs out there that do text messaging. Go use one of those, and maybe it's not the final thing that you're going to be using. It's not like the ultimate solution for you, but like it's a great way to test things out. It's one of the challenges I run into a lot is like, I'll get founders be like, I want to do this. I'm like, great. Here's how you can run a quick MVP here, or you can like go find somebody else to build it for you. And they're like, no, I need it right, but I don't want to pay for any of it. I'm like, okay, but like, then build it yourself. Here's an example, and we've got a ton of examples out there, so like you can do that. But like, I think you gotta look at the cost benefit of some of these things to make those decisions. Well, I know we got Emily joining us in chat.
Ooh,
She was helping me
Emily.
out in the last event. So thank you so much for jumping in to talk to us here. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, that was a great question. Like, what should you be thinking about? But like, where do you, because you work with builders all the time, how do
Mhm.
you like to tell people to get started?
I think I always feel like it goes, it's deep, right? In the sense that sometimes we can overthink it. And also you have to get a little bit curious. And I think, as the goal isn't always to reach those milestones as you're building, as you're creating something, but really thinking about, how can I stay curious? And I think when you stay curious, it removes the ego out of it. It removes the spaces of, oh, this has to be perfect, but you're really meeting this from a place of, what can I learn from doing something different? And I think the more that folks are able to lean into, what did I learn from this, rather than it being, what did this experiment say about me? Essentially, not taking it personal as well. So I think being in a posture of experimentation allows you to continue to stay curious, continue to get those insights on your business or your company. So that to me is just what I like to encourage a lot of people with, which is really, really leaning into that curiosity aspect.
I love that. I think being curious and like thinking of everything as an experiment is so useful, and to be honest, kind of underrated. I think that we don't
Mhm.
always do that. So yeah, if anybody's ever run a fun experiment in chat, drop it in.
Yes.
Those are good ones. I'm have you I have a few that I liked, that I ran. One of my startups, my very first foray into the startup world, was trying to like help connect job seekers to jobs based on culture fit, especially for like that first job, which is a really hard job to get. And so we this was like a decade ago, so well before the age of AI that we're in right now, but the time when like people were talking about like machine learning algorithms and like the Netflix algorithm. And so we had created this whole platform where we would just go, so like from the job seeker side, they would see I think up every day it would be updated with a list of new jobs, and there would be like kind of like green, yellow, red. How well does this match to what you're looking for? So we like kind of like pre-filtered all this stuff. And so they thought we had this great algorithm. What it really was me and my co-founder spending 1 to 2 hours every afternoon combing job boards and putting them in for all these different people and like rating them for each person. And we had some tools that like made it easier, but like we call that the Wizard of Oz demo, right? Like don't walk behind the curtain. But like it was, it worked. People were using it, and like we got some really great data from just trying it, which was a lot of fun to run. But there was a lot of job searching.
Yeah. I mean, you probably learned a ton. It reminds you of that. What is that phrase that we like to use here? Is learn those cheap lessons, right?
Yeah.
There's the thing, really being able to learn those lessons without it being super, financially intensive. So even that space of, hey, it might be that, you are doing that manually, but learning that lesson, being able to iterate on it. So that was pretty cool. The other thing
Yeah.
too, I think, is those moments allow you to see, does this actually work? Because we spend so much time with our ideas, but once it reaches the market will tell you what it likes, what it doesn't like, what they're like, no, I don't like this at all. So I do think being able to understand, how do your actual users feel about this thing that you're building before you go and build out only the things that are in your head. This is a collaborative effort. And I think the more that founders, builders are able to think about, oh, this is collaborative. I am not building this product for myself. Well, and sometimes maybe you are, but I do think the more that you're able to understand this isn't all about you, it lends itself to a lot of good and classic magic being created,
Yeah, and that's like, this just makes me think about like us working at Twilio, because there's some nice things that happen, which is like I can just build stuff for fun and like hope that people want to go look at it, which is so much fun. And I think like, Rashab, you do a lot of building and teaching. In the chat, we got Rashab and Cloud. But so like it's fun to just build stuff and not worry about what the outcome is. But the thing that I really love about serving startups and doing Twilio Startup Labs is that I get to not only build those things, but listen to feedback from our customers and be like, what do you need to build? What is that thing that you need to build in order to run this experiment so that we can go forward and help you create these amazing customer experiences? So, that's one of those things that I really appreciate. And like, yeah, the more feedback that we get from you, the audience, about what you want to see built, we'll build it. I very regularly get emails from people asking, hey, I have this problem. How do I solve it? And usually there's a Twilio blog post. Rashab's working on a new Twilio blog post out there. So like a lot of us do that. We put out blog posts to help people build. My hunch is that Rashab's blog post is about using AWS Lambdas to send text messages. So that'll be a really cool blog post, and anyone can use that is really used to using Lambdas. So like we try to do that, but getting inspired by, hey, how are you using this service is really, really useful and important to us to make sure that we're doing those things and we're getting customers what they need to keep building. Yeah. Hey, Bianca.
Mm-hmm. What we got?
Like last time we coded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should we build something in studio?
We could. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Things that I want to build for my own life is I need to build a new randomized picker for helping me pick NCAA brackets, because I don't want to put, I'll put my energy into coding a way to use random numbers to do it, but I don't want to actually think about what the teams are and how they're going to do. But yeah, that's not, it's not as
okay.
Twilio.
Okay, so let's.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
What? So I have one idea, which is like, I have often said that like, my screen might disappear for a second, but like, we'll be back. Cool. I've often said that there's a way to like use Studio to do a really quick MVP for two-way messaging. Should we just like build that out really quick?
And it might not work, but we're just trying to
We
build
can
it.
hook it up to a phone number. It'll work, right? It's
It'll
just
work.
a
Well, we believe. We believe. Okay.
So I love Twilio Studio, and I love looking at all the other ones that I did. Sausage Race was a game that I
It's
played
good.
based on the yeah. Well, okay. What do we got in the chat, really quick? It is bracket season. Um,
Yes.
based picking your teams based on logo colors. I mean, honestly, it works. I mean, why not? My plan was I found, and I'll share this with everybody because I don't think anyone is watching this who's going to be in my brackets, but you never know. But like my
Ooh.
plan is I found statistics for every seed team versus every other seed team. And I'm going to use that with a random number generator to go through the brackets and pick teams until I get to the final four, and then I'll have to figure out what to do with the final four. But yeah, I
For
love
sure.
looking at all my old Twilio flows, like Sausage Race. It's just a
That
funny
was a good
name.
one. That was
Yeah,
that
that was
was
a demo
fun.
I did based on the Milwaukee Brewers baseball team, like their little sausage race that they do. That's
That
fun.
was good.
Like different games. I've built trivia with
Oh,
Studio.
that was fun.
Yeah, that was actually something I did for the first time. I'm trying to think of when I did it first. Oh, it was with Rashab. Rashab and I
Hmm.
were going to transform in Toronto, and we built trivia for the event, and then we got a bunch of people playing trivia games. It was a lot of fun.
That was pretty cool. It also that trivia got so intense. Like folks were really into it. So I really like that. That was a good one.
Yeah,
A
let's
good
just peek
one.
at that because that's kind of a fun one that
Yeah.
I did, and I used Airtable as the back end for this, which
Okay.
that's rather large. Um,
Huge.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I could have
So
just
let's
zoomed out. That's better. Hold on.
Yep.
So like it's a big flow that I got going on here, right? But like basically when someone messaged me, so there were kind of three components to this, right? We had the back end, all the data of the people playing was housed in Airtable. So I did an Airtable for that, and then
Okay.
I used the Airtable API with Twilio functions. So that's like hosted code, similar to AWS Lambdas. There, so I would use those to interact with the database, and then Studio Flow was kind of like my state machine. So it's how I talked to the people who communicated via text or WhatsApp. So that was pretty cool. So basically, I would like the first thing I would do is look up their number in the Airtable database and see where were they in the flow, what questions had they already answered. If they're a new player, like if they're somebody that I hadn't seen, I would like send them some stuff and I would get their name so we could save that. And then I would like set a bunch of, there's like, little variables and things like that. I don't remember what this was. And then based on what they're like, if they had trigger message body, no, based on how they triggered us, I would send things. Oh, I remember. I remade it because there was another mode that people needed, but we don't need to worry about that. But yeah, we could send them like a code to go play a game. But if they didn't need that code, I would basically then use the API to go get questions, which I had stored in that function as well. I saved which ones I had asked them. So I'd pick a random question out, send them that question, make sure that they answered A, B, C, or D. And then if I needed to resend them the question, and then check their answer, send their answer off to Airtable so we had a record of it, and then bring it back. So that was kind of like the flow here, and then it would just keep repeating.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean,
I
it was
think
pretty
it's
big.
also yeah, it was also and it's so cool to even see that back end of it because on the front end it's like folks are just answering a few questions, but even the simplicity of creating something like a trivia flow on Studio, looking at the behind the scenes of this, it's kind of cool to watch and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also I love like games and trivia, so I had a lot of fun coming up with trivia for like Toronto because that's where Collision was, and then I did this again in Denver at one point. We got Hot Spark Lab coming in from Colorado too. I'm also here,
Ooh.
so maybe next time you come and watch live if you're in the
Oh,
Denver area. Colorado is a big state, but
it is. It
happy
is.
to have some other people at High Elevation joining us here. And yeah, Rashad was right. I think we gave away a PS5 to the winner.
Oh,
Oh no,
yes,
yeah, we
yes.
gave away a PS5 once. We've done Amazon gift cards. People will, people like to play games,
They
especially
do.
when
They
you
do.
have prizes at the end.
They get very
So
competitive. I also think
yeah,
what was interesting with this one was the mad dash to find Canadian trivia. That was great. Like that was having to figure out what do you even put for these that was a great team bonding.
yeah.
Team
There's one thing
bonding.
that I knew when I was writing the trivia questions with Rashad
Okay.
and I wrote them together. There had to be a Drake question. I mean, you got
Is
it
it
right, Canadian trivia.
yeah, like is it really trivia about Toronto without a question around Drake?
Yeah,
That would have been that
yeah.
no.
There were a lot of Drake facts. I think the one we went with, if I'm not mistaken, I could look this up too, but was which version of Degrassi was he in?
Whoa.
Because there's a
Wow.
lot of Degrassis out there.
There are. There are.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Drake
Um,
trivia. Is that the next build? A
just
Drake
all
trivia.
Drake trivia, just nothing but Drake
Wow.
trivia.
Nothing.
I don't know if
Nothing
I'm a
but
big enough Drake fan.
I feel you on that.
I do have a favorite
Also,
band, and you can't see, but my whole wall has posters like that I'm looking at from
we
my
saw the
favorite band,
flag.
Wilco.
I feel like I
Yeah,
saw
you
the
guys can see the
flag.
flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. Wilco is a Chicago-based band that I kind of fell in love with when I was a kid. When kind of their seminal album, actually, this album, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, came out 20 years ago last year, and I because I lived in Chicago for a while, I have probably seen Wilco 20 something times because they would play like multiple nights in Chicago. So yeah, I could do Wilco trivia if you guys want, but I think
Okay.
there's
So
like not as many people who care about Wilco trivia. There's some of them. We're out there.
there's probably
Yeah.
like a strong Wilco contingent.
There's a weird joke that every Wilco fan is the biggest Wilco fan you'll ever meet. It's just a weird group of people that follow that band, but I love them. Anyways, let's make a flow
Dozens.
here.
Okay.
Dozens. Say a two-way MVP.
Okay. Are we?
I
Do
might
we
have
have
to
like
do.
do we have like a fake company that we want to build?
You
Maybe,
you got to come up with
maybe.
it.
Okay, maybe like an umbrella
We
company.
sell umbrellas. Is it raining there
Yeah,
in Atlanta?
it isn't. But
Okay.
I found a few umbrellas. I'm staring at one, so I was like, it's gonna be an umbrella. Or we could have like an ice cream shop, or
Yeah.
something. Maybe food. You know me and
You
food.
want to
Me
do a
and
food one?
food. Let's do a food one. Okay, let's
Okay,
do a
we'll do a
food
food one.
one.
In the
Or
chat,
like your
someone named Steven Nix is making fun of Wilkos. Dozens of us. They have their own music festival and they sell hundreds of tickets. They sell out venues, large venues. So I'll go hundreds, maybe thousands. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, let's do a food one.
okay.
What do we want to
Maybe
do? Like,
we'll make it around like ice cream. I'm thinking about maybe it's like
okay,
a
it's the
local
first day of spring. We're looking forward to
yes,
summer when we get
yes.
to do some things. Yeah. So like just here, what's cool is like there's step-by-step tutorials for like a bunch of these things, like appointment reminders,
Mhm.
messaging chat bots. I don't know, maybe I'll even start with one of these because I haven't done them yet. Simple IVR phone trees, messaging autoresponders. There's a lot of stuff out of here. I feel like we're
Ice cream
something between a
pizza?
chatbot. Should we just? I haven't done a tutorial. Should we try one?
Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ice cream
Ice cream
pizza.
pizza. Oh,
I'm
man.
concerned. I'm a little is it together or is it separated? Is it ice cream and then pizza or
I'm going on a tangent here, but I'm going to talk about the weirdest ice cream fans.
Ooh.
Oh, see, Stephen Nick. Sorry, he likes Wilco too, but yeah, it does feel like a small little community. But anyways, the weirdest ice cream experience that
Okay.
maybe I've had, and I've been to like the places in LA where they have like the bizarre flavors, like like mashed potato ice cream. But there's a street vendor in Singapore
Okay.
that serves ice cream sandwiches, and the way they make ice cream sandwiches, they have a loaf of like Wonder Bread, like white bread, and they have these like very frozen bricks, like these rectangles of ice cream, and they cut a slice and then put it on the bread. So it's literally an ice cream sandwich with Wonder Bread, and it was surprisingly good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So,
okay.
so next
Okay.
time you get a good loaf of sourdough, just throw some ice cream on it and see what happens.
Noted. Noted.
Yeah. What does Chef Brent think of that one?
So many, so many questions. I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're okay. So maybe we're doing pizza. Maybe we're doing some ice cream.
Cool.
I'm trying to think. We could do it a few ways. Maybe you're a local business that's, maybe you ran a, maybe we're trying to get like create a new flavor.
Yeah.
Create a new flavor or help us choose our next
Let's do that. Yeah.
flavor. Yeah.
But these are just, if you're in the market to build one of these, we have videos here, like the Twilio Barista Bot video, and like it'll tell you how to create the flow and all the steps, which is super cool.
Yeah.
I love we have these. And then, we have the autoresponder one, step-by-step tutorial here. Our docs are pretty good. I'm very pleasantly surprised with what we got on there. So yeah, this one doesn't have a video attached to it. So, Brent, we'll figure that out. Brent, the producer here, is also in charge of making a lot of the videos that we have here. Oh yeah, Brent. So Brent made that other video. So yeah, this video, building a chatbot, is going to feature Brent. And let's see if we get any Brent. Yeah, it's a lot. I don't know if you actually show up in here, Brent, or if it's just
or is it the voice of Brent? It could be the voice.
It's the voice of Brent. So if you're ever curious, go check out that video. But let's just start from scratch here.
Okay. All right. So we're
gonna build a tool that lets us get the flavor. Like, we're gonna let the people choose the flavor. So
be careful what you wish for. You might get some sourdough strawberry ice cream.
Here's my opinion on things like this. Like, I think that anyone running a contest should not make the results public too early, because like, wasn't there like a ship that was named like Bodie McBoatface because like someone in the UK like held a competition to like pick it, and like people voted. So like, I think that it's okay to get some out there things, but a little bit of filtering might help. So let's start by
it's like, how far is too far,
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
All right. So let's start by someone's going to send. Let's start with text. We can, in this one flow, actually build text and voice, which is cool. So we'll do that too.
Okay. Do we have any ideas on the chat for a ice cream shop name? Feel free to throw that in the chat if you have some ideas what we can call our hypothetical company.
Yeah. I'll wait for the responses to pour in. But so we have all these different widgets we can add. And for messaging, it's typically, send message or send message, wait for reply. I do a lot of send message and wait for reply. That's basically like send a message and then you can tell it how long to wait for. But sometimes you might want to start with one message and then do a message and wait for reply. But let's say, we'll just say the intro thing. So this is basically anytime someone texts me, this is the first thing they're going to get back. And you can use other tools. We have like content editor, which can make it a little easier for you to have some of the content in there. But like, we didn't get any.
We could say we didn't get any. So let's see. Hi, thanks for. Well, welcome to the.
What's the name? What's the name of the shop? The AB testing ice cream stand.
Yes.
Say in this.
Why was I about to be ABC? The ABC. The AB. Yeah.
AB cones.
Yep.
Well, actually, I'm going to start this from a different standpoint, because like, I think that you can do more. Like, one of the things we're going to do is ask people for like, we're going to be testing ice cream flavors, right? Why not?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a blind test. Maybe you don't know what you're going to get. You just like, you know, pick the color of the ice cream. You don't know if it's going to be vanilla or coconut. You don't know if it's going to be, you know,
At
chocolate
all.
or caramel. I don't know. But so like let's give them some options of what they can do. Would you like to leave us a
Mhm.
message or help us pick a flavor?
Yes, I like
Uh,
that. And I like the ability to just meet different folks on those different channels. So
mhm.
for some people they're like, I don't want to text you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So in the future, I would love to actually like hook these up to OpenAI's API, so like you can just do natural language text, which would be super cool. But for now, we're gonna say like reply. Let's say A is gonna be leave a message, and B is gonna be pick a flavor. So yeah. So save there. So we got that whole thing. So now when we get an incoming message, they're going to get that. Now we need to make
Cool.
sure that they actually answered A or B. So we're going to use the split based on. This is kind of like an or statement kind of thing. And we've got intro dot inbound dot body, and I like to use autocorrect, but I know how to get there. So widgets dot intro. So like there's a whole data structure to this whole thing, and you'll learn this as you use it. It's pretty good. Sweet. So this is the thing we're gonna. And so like we'll call this main split. Sweet. So when someone replies, main split, and so now if we can add these transitions. So these are kind of like the case statements or if statements. So like if the response is equal to A, we're going to do one thing. And then I'm just going to like call that A. And then we'll add another condition. And like if the response is equal to B. And you can do a lot of things like match. A lot of times if you're just doing like validation, you can do like match any of an A comma B comma C comma D. You can use regex. I always forget how to pronounce that. I don't understand it. I have never taken the time to learn. I have a lot of admiration for the people who have figured out how to learn this stuff. Not me. So we're just going to keep with equal to B. And we'll go ahead and save that. And then I can rename this to B. And you don't have to rename these things, but I like to because it makes my life easier. So look, if no conditions match, that means they didn't give A or B. So maybe we'll do, we can do this. There's a few different ways. We can like send a message like, hey, I didn't understand that. Invalid.
I was like, we said A or B.
Yeah.
JK. In a soft.
Should I actually have a better way to do this. Should I do this the way that I normally do it, or should I do it the easy way?
I feel like we could add a little spice of complication.
Let's do it. So we're going to get rid of that widget. So wait, I want to kill that widget.
Wow. So intense.
You really didn't want me to. So this uses something called liquid templating language. I hope I'm going to write this right. But if you do, let me just pull up liquid templating language really quick so we can do it. I guess it's a Shopify thing originally, but like it's basically like if you do double brackets, it'll is that right? Yeah, if you do double brackets, it'll like actually show the name. And if you do bracket parentheses, it's like code that you can put inside of this stuff. So we can do like let's do code here. So like if and then flow dot variables dot resend equal is true, and we'll create a new variable. I'll show you guys how to do that in a second. Then we're going to say this first part, and then else, and we'll say I didn't recognize that response. Cool. So now in theory, if it's the first time that they're sending it, this resend will be false. And then it'll say, welcome to A/B testing ice cream stand. Would you like to leave a message or pick a flavor? And then if they do send it again, it'll say, I didn't recognize that response. Would you like to send a message or leave a flavor? And then we need so let's save that. And then we need to add the variables. So we've got these set variable widgets. So we're gonna have a variable called resend. And then we're gonna just initially send it to false here. I'm pretty sure if I didn't do anything with it, it would probably be fine because it's like not true. But either way, and then duplicate this really quick. Look how fast I am coding. I'm very fast at coding when I'm not actually coding. Sweet.
That's a fast, Alex.
Yeah.
Just like that. Thank you, Steven, for adding that into the chat for folks who want to follow along.
Sweet. Liquid templating language in the Twilio docs, even better than mine that I found. So yeah, so basically we'll false originally, so we'll send the welcome, and if we have to resend, it's true. Now we got our A and B, and if I remember, A is leave us a message, right? So
yeah. And then B is choose our flavor. Help us choose a flavor.
Yeah. Let's get even more complicated on this. Should we have
of course, very on brand.
Always complicated, right? I know, very on brand.
I feel like you found this simple studio, but yet you're like, let's make it
as fun as possible. Let's actually add a let's I'm just gonna do it up here so we don't have to add more things. Leave a text message.
Okay.
B is now gonna be leave a voice message.
Okay.
And then C will do pick a flavor.
Okay. Giving people options. So,
yeah, because like you can do multiple things in one, which is super cool. At least I think it's cool. Like I actually use that in the other way a lot, where like if I'm on the phone with somebody on Studio, I can send them a text message, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, and even thinking back to that whole omni-channel, this to me is just like a clear-cut example of, for some people, it might be voice. For some people, it might be a text message. For some people, they're like, I want another option, or I just want to engage, or I want to talk to you. So I think even just being able to find where they're at and what they want to do.
Exactly. And I just changed these to match any of, so people can do lowercase or uppercase, and we'll be fine. So, okay, we got ABC. So like, if it's A, we're gonna want them to leave a message.
Yes.
So I'll just say message. So A, we'll just here say, great. Let us know what, or just let
us know what's.
Drop us a text and we will get back to you. You will, and then here's the one thing that like I wish we had in Studio that we don't, which is there's no way to like wait for one period of time for a text message, so I can't get like multiple back. So what I think I'm going to do here is just be like, let's just say like, you will see this message again if you reply, and we will keep listening. Message again after you send a message, so we can keep listening. So it's going to be a little weird. You could do the same thing with like the resends, where like the first time it sends one and the second time it sends something different. We'll just make this easy. And so if someone replies to this, this is where we're going to we want to go store it somewhere. So I'm not going to, I'll show how you would do that. So you can either run a function, so you could have a Twilio function that was built in, or you can do something like add an HTTP request. So this would be like if you have a webhook, you can send it off to that, to that webhook to go and see somewhere, which is pretty cool. Actually, let me just, there's an easy way to do this. Is it webhook.site? Is that the thing I'm thinking of? Yeah, perfect. So this is a cool little tool that I use a lot when I'm just playing around. So it'll basically create a webhook for you. So like I can copy this URL and then it'll just receive webhooks. So we'll just be able to see if somebody messages in. So we'll just send it there. But like I would send this to Airtable or something like that would be a good option. So let's say if somebody replies, we're going to make a post request to this thing because we're going to want to store it. And then we're just going to like, go back here and let them send another message. You could also not do this and just go look through your logs in Twilio for what people are messaging. But I think storing it somewhere else makes more sense.
Yeah, you're able to tell the team what people are
Yeah.
saying. So,
and then we'll just make the message equal to the value, which is widgets.message.inbound.body. Cool. So we won't even, you could, and normally you would add the phone number, but if I don't add the phone number, then if I use my phone number to do this, you won't see it. So we'll try that there. So right now we've set up this tool where like, if somebody texts and they say A, they can leave us a message and it'll go to wherever we want it to. And you can kind of do the same thing with voice. But what's cool is you can connect to call. I think we'll need to make an outgoing call. So like if somebody hits B, we need to call them. Should we tell them that we're calling them first?
oh, maybe we could tell them on the, we'll give you a ring to send us a message. Yeah. Might be a bit confusing if they think, but yeah. Great,
Yeah.
we're calling you now. And I love the things the thing I love about Studio as well is that it's causing you to iterate. So even us being like, what is the real life interaction? And even pausing to say, oh, okay, you might not want a random call. You might want to just even get a heads up before you're getting a call. So I think even being able to iterate on the flows, super helpful.
Yeah. So like you can also like do things like record the call or detect answering machine. And things like that. And then, there's all these different tools. I don't even know how to use all these if I'm being fully honest. And so we call the user and then we'll say, I think I can just, like, you can say stuff too. So like, you can gather input on a call. You can be like, push 1 for this, push 2 for this. You can connect to agents and other tools. You can just say something. I can't remember voicemail lets you say. No, it doesn't. So we're gonna say something.
Probably needs to say something.
Yeah.
What
say play.
Say play. Okay.
And like this gives us all the answers, like answer, busy, no answer, call failed. So we only really care about if someone answers.
Yeah.
And so what do you want to say? Here at A/B testing.
We want to hear from you.
Sweet. Leave us a message. And then you can if I was doing this, I might have one of us record something and you can like have it play that. But you can also just change the text. We'll go with you can do
English.
That. You can choose the voice.
Super powerful say.
Yeah.
En
these poly voices are pretty good.
Okay.
The polyneurals are actually the best. So let's just do I don't even know what Kimberly's going to sound like.
We're going to find out.
We are. And then let's say stop recording after 5 seconds of silence. You can stop recording on a key press. I like transcribing, and then you can also like send it to a webhook as well, which is cool. So like transcription callback URL will go there. So it'll send the transcription to that URL. And you can also record, send the recordings to URL too, which is super cool. So now.
All right. Okay. So we have, so right now we've collected a message. So right now we've done our first option.
Mm-hmm. And the second option.
Okay. And now we've done our second option.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those following along. And then our third option was that we wanted to, what was it? Choose an ice cream flavor.
Yeah.
Or help us pick our next flavor.
Yeah.
That was the one.
So do we want to make it a totally open world where they can pick their own? Or do we want to make it, do you want to give them like choices?
Oh, wow. I'm torn because, next thing you know, people are submitting pepperoni ice cream. you know? So do
Maybe
we,
that's great, Bianca. You don't know.
why not? You know, let's keep the options. Let's keep the options flowing. We never know what we'll get here.
Cool.
So yeah, but we can give the options to you know, we can limit it if we need to.
Yeah.
You
So
know
you could
your
like be like,
audience.
you could be like, here's the top 5. Which one do you like the best? Or, oh, sweet or savory flavor. See, like,
Ooh.
that's a great question. So you could have a whole survey in here, right? You could do,
Yeah.
hey, do you want a sweet or savory flavor? Do you want, what's your favorite traditional ice cream flavor? Like, you could get a ton of info from this with them just pushing like A, B, C, D, or even like trying to send each response off to
Hmm.
OpenAI to categorize, or none of them. Like, you could even just like let them put in an answer and store it all somewhere and do something. Oh, Brent wants some
Yeah.
salty. He wants that salted caramel, salted chocolate.
Ooh, salted
That's what
chocolate
Chef Brent's
sounds
going for.
so good. I'm usually
Yeah.
like a fruit based. I love a good
Like
fruit,
sorbet.
not sorbet. Like, definitely a little bit of strawberry or something. I like a good like raspberry, little
Mm,
mixture there. Um yeah,
yeah.
it all depends. It all depends. What flavor would you like to see in our shop? Great.
Let's
Oh,
just
yeah,
do. Let's just
peaches.
make it simple.
Okay, great.
Um, and then I'm just gonna copy this one because it's a little easier than doing that. So like, and I'm gonna change, but I'm gonna change the what is sent, because right now we've got messages, but we're gonna do pick a flavor.
Pick
So
a
whatever they
flavor.
send us is gonna go there. Cool. And
Fantastic.
then let's like give them a final message. And we'll just say, thank
Steven,
you so much. Text again to get back to the main menu.
yeah, you can even add, like, if folks were thinking about deeper engagement points, you can even add a coupon code in there,
Yeah.
maybe for those that submitted something, or, here's 10% off your next ice cream purchase. So I do think those, even though you're getting that feedback, I do think being able to respond back and engage, lots of
Yeah.
options here.
That actually reminds me of my favorite marketing campaign text that I get these days. There's a like a Jewish style deli here in Denver called Zadie's, and I signed up for their text messages. And normally I like sign up just to see what they're like and then drop. But these are great. Every month or so, they're like, it's time for the raffle. Pick a number between 0 and 100. And then I pick a number and they're like, sorry, the winners were blah, 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 like the 4 numbers that are the winner. And then like, if you win, you get a free dozen bagels. And if you don't, you get like a $5 off coupon. So it's like, it's great. Like I engage with them, and I go there sometimes, but like I engage with their text message because it's not just like, hey, 20% off, or like, hey, did you see what we just announced? It's like, they make it fun. I love that.
Yeah. It also is like, it's also reminding you too that folks do want those conversational not conversational conversations. Brie cheese and habanero honey. Wow, someone has a fancy palate. This
Someone's
is
going for
fantastic.
it.
Yeah, I'm like, brie cheese and habanero. I will say that doesn't sound bad at all. That is okay.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that. Okay. But yeah, no, the deli example is really solid. I think the ones that are engaging, the ones that they keep it fresh and exciting. And I think that's the cool thing too with being able to change these things out in real time, is that you can figure out, okay, what is resonating for folks.
Yeah, and you play with it. And like, we just built this in like 20 minutes. So like, if you were even like trying to create like a 2-way message text, you could literally be like, hey there, we're your reply when they send you a message back, could maybe send an automated message, could just be something like, oh, there's the dev phone popping up, cool. Could be something like, hey, we'll get back to you in the next 48 hours, leave us a message and we'll contact you, and you can send it off to whatever webhook you want and then find a different way to contact them. Or maybe you can still use SMS to contact them. So that's cool. And like, this was pretty quick and easy. And like, if you were sending it off to Airtable, which you can use the webhooks in Airtable, there's a way to like text people. You got to make sure
Yeah,
that you're not like that when they reply, it doesn't always go back to the flow. Like there's some tools, some ways that you need to like configure it, but like generally works.
it does. Yeah. Even that quickness of just, we have an idea, we're testing it out. And even on this, it's, you don't need to overthink it. So I do think even being able to test something out in 20 minutes or less is,
Mhm.
pretty cool.
And like
Let's see.
here, I
Oh,
think if I was still doing stuff, because I'll set this up to a number. I'd probably do an incoming call. If somebody calls the number, maybe we have them say something similar to this, and then it can split, and you can send it right to this. Leave a message after the beep, or press A for let us know the flavor, or do you want to send a text? So you could do this exact same thing in the flow for call, which is super cool. Let's
yeah.
get this set up. So I just published it, so it's out there. Um,
Woo.
let's go to my phone numbers and like let's see if it works.
Okay.
Let's see, what numbers do I have? I got all these phone numbers. Got to pick one.
The
Let's
number.
take over. This one says unconfigured. I was using. Oh, that was from our build last time, so we don't need that anymore. So we're gonna set it to use a studio flow, and the flow we just did was 2A MVP.
Yep.
Save configuration, and
Just
then
like that.
it's done. Now I've got my dev phone.
Great. Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to pick a number here. That number will work. Use this phone number. Cool.
Okay.
Now I can send messages. I got to go remember what the number that I just used was. So, cool.
All right.
So we're going to send a message to this number, and we're going to say,
Hi.
We're going to see what happens. Let's see if it works.
Hello.
There we go. It didn't like my my.
It didn't.
For some reason, it didn't like my
Do you need two
liquid
brackets?
templating languages. What? I don't remember. I thought it was just one.
Okay. Hello. Yeah.
Let's look at the Twilio version of this. Twilio.
Good call.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a missing end quote.
There's a missing end quote. Who's got me? Oh, you're right. There's a missing end quote. Thank you. This is why I kind of like doing this stuff on stream, because people help.
You make us better. You make us better.
You make us better. Yeah. Cool. Go back here. I'm going to show you a few things about testing on this. So we did miss the end quote, so that's good. Now, a few things to think about, which is we save this. This is there now, but it's not published. So like we need to publish this to make it work. And so now it's published, but the user wouldn't actually see the new version, because if we go to the logs right here, and this is the logs for who's using Studio and how, these logs are so useful. So if you're ever trying to figure stuff out, you can see all the information about the flow and the flow data. So like when I was doing that, like widget dot blah, 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 like this is where it all came from, right? Flow info, the phone number that it came from, the trigger message, all this information is in this flow data thing. And so that's really useful. But this flow is active. Like you can tell because here it'll say like stop execution. So we're going to stop that execution. So now we're going to have a whole new one. So it's going to start from fresh. Otherwise it would have like continued in the current one. So we'll try that again.
Hello.
Hi. It didn't like it again. But let's just make sure the other things are working first, and then we'll go back and troubleshoot.
Okay. Let's do it.
This is live, people.
All right. Welcome to the A/B testing ice cream stand.
Let's say that we want to leave a text message.
Okay, great.
Okay. And I would put another return between these to make sure that they split off. Great. Job as a text line. I really like some of your flavors, but some are just too weird. Cool. And then in theory, I should have got this over here. Yeah, I did. See, now this posted my webhook. It sent the message. I really like some of your flavors, but some are just too weird. And like we could keep going and add another message. Like you said you like raspberry.
Yeah.
Raspberry is my favorite. Stop making all the other flavors and just do raspberry.
The raspberry shop. You're like, priorities.
Cool. So this is going to keep looping here, and we'll be able to keep send the message. So like maybe in these two, yeah, we got this new one here. Some of the flavors good. So like maybe here you'd also want to have like an option where they can like send a keyword to go back to the other thing. So instead, we're going to go into the background here, look at these again, and we're just going to kill that execution so we can try something different. Stop execution. Cool. Now the phone number that we're doing it on won't actually work for voice, so we're not gonna be able to try that. But let's just say I'm back, and maybe this triggers for you off of like a certain keyword, right? If they message support, you do one thing. If they send anything else, you do something else. Like you can always do that. Like get creative with how you do these. But let's go to C here. Okay, what flavor do you want to see, Bianca? What did we get in the chat? What are some good ones?
So we
Brie
got
cheese and habanero honey.
Yeah.
Robertables, bringing it.
I will say the vanilla ice cream and cracked black pepper was interesting too. Yeah, habanero, honey.
Let's try it. Cool.
Thank you.
So we got another webhook. That was brie cheese and habanero honey. So like you can see how you could really easily store this wherever you want, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Should we try to debug that first one? I feel like I want to fix it.
Let's do. Okay, so hot. We got some stuff in the chat.
Someone said I did the end if wrong.
All right, let's try. Let's see.
Oh, you're right. End if. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
I just want to I'm a little confused why these didn't like split up. Usually they do, but we'll see if that makes it better or worse.
We will.
Sometimes this plays really nice. Sometimes it doesn't. I think the end if was a good thing. Cool.
Great.
Let's try it again.
Publish. Did you publish it?
Oh, I did not publish. Good call, Bianca. I need you watching my back here.
Teamwork.
Hi. Makes the dream work. Woo! Oh, for some reason it jumped to the first one, but cool. I know what happened here.
Okay, but we're getting closer.
Yeah. Float variables that resend should be false. Let's just make sure that that's let's go look at the that one. Let's go look at the logs because the logs tell us everything.
The logs tell us it all.
Right now, flow data variables resend is false. So that was weird that it decided to do that. Flow variables resend false.
Does Studio have a mind of its own at this point?
It does. We used to have a product called Autopilot, which did a little bit more of that, like mind of its own thing. But we appreciated that, which is probably good. Variables dot resend. I just want to see something. Flow dot. I just want to get the auto curve variables, and then dot resend. Did I type that all correctly? Cool. This was actually backwards. If it's false, then we send that, and once resends is true. So I just had my logic wrong.
It happens. It does.
It happens a lot. Let's be honest here.
These are good.
So now if I try this.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the A/B testing shop. And then if I do Bianca, where are you? And send that.
I don't know.
I didn't recognize this.
What is that?
Again. So yeah.
Let's try this again. Okay, so you could pick a flavor because you said this number can't take messages, but do we have another?
I mean, I can call with my phone.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Why not?
What was the number again?
I got it. Or do you want to do it?
Okay.
Number's right
Let's
here.
see. Okay. Mm-mm. I'll let you call. We'll see.
You want me to
See
call?
what it
Okay.
gives you. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I'm going to call. Silence on stream. Sorry, Brent. Shouldn't do that.
Silence on the stream.
Oh, I actually don't. I can't
Right.
call it. I need to text it from my phone and then let it call me. That's how we're doing it. Sorry.
Oh,
Just give me one
gotcha.
moment.
Brief intermission. Okay, so we had some good stuff in this. Who is Brent? I don't
Cool.
know. Alex keeps on calling this mythical person known
Chef
by the
Brent.
name of Brent.
Sorry,
I
he's a chef.
we
Chef Brent.
okay.
He's our producer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he
Interesting.
helps us things. Cool. So I got that first text message, and let's say try to leave a voicemail.
Leave a message after the beep.
And then
so
great.
yeah, I really like this.
now.
I feel like we could
hold
start
on.
a.
I'm on Do Not Disturb. So you just had it, and here's going to be my message that I'm going to give, and then I'm sorry that you guys didn't all see the calling of me because I have my phone on Do Not Disturb because I'm on stream. Silly me.
Wow, who would have thought?
Cool. Who would have thunk that? Well, sometimes I like let some numbers call me, but like in theory, in a minute here, we should. There we go.
Woo!
So now it's here. I'm not going to click on it because I'm worried that it might
show your number,
reveal my phone number. So I'm gonna I'm gonna just look on a different tab and see what happens to see if it showed my phone number or not. And it does. So I'm not going to show that, but I got the message, and it's the text transcription is there, so it worked.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty. We just did it. Like that was. You can build a two-way flow in not long, and like have this way of interacting with your customers that's just like a little bit different. And yeah, this is what I like when startups are like, hey, how do I do to it? Like, this is what I tell them. I'm like, go build a flow. Like, it doesn't need to be great. It can be a little bit rudimentary, and people will understand as long as you're clear with the expectations. You're clear that, hey, we'll get back to you in the next 2 days, right? Like, whatever that is. There's one recently that I messaged them via text, and I just got a response that was like, this number is not monitored. And so I sent them an email. Fine. They got back to me via email. And then a day later, they sent me the text message back being like, answering my question. I was like, why didn't you just say, hey, it's going to take us a day or two? I'm like, fine, I'll talk to you later.
Like but what is it? Low. They want you to have low expectations.
Yeah, those expectations were too low. Yeah.
They're like, we don't look at this here. But I do think, when they switch off those experiences, you're like, where do you need me to find you? And also as a user, you'll be like, wait, should I email you? Should I text you? Should I call you? Where to find you? So I think, and I think that was actually one of the things that you had brought up too, which is you don't want this to be distracting. All of this should be in support. Like, how are you thinking about that as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as you said, you don't want it to be distracting. I just have a firm belief that if you are using a channel, someone should be able to reach you back on that channel. It doesn't have to be instant. Like, I think one of the problems that we have this idea in our head that like, if you're doing text messaging, you have to have somebody monitoring that 24/7, which you don't. Like, people understand that they're gonna hear back from you soon. And then like some other thoughts of omnichannel. So like, there's a piece of software that I've been using a lot recently called Riverside to do recordings for interviews and things. And like, they're pretty small. They're kind of feel like a startup, and they have a whole, our plan. We have like, we can chat support, and like, there's the little chat widget that pops up on the side, and I get to talk to somebody and tell them what's going on. And then at some point they're usually like, hey, it's going to take me a minute to figure this out. We're going to send you an email. I'm like, great. Move it over to the channel that is asynchronous when we're ready. But like, I still get to chat with them, and I'm not like sitting there waiting for a response. They'll get back to me later. I don't know. I feel like it used to be the coolest thing when you're like waiting on hold and they're like, we'll give you a call back. Yes. Thank you.
But then I'm like, I'm losing my place in line. I don't trust it. I'm like, they're like, oh, you won't lose your place in line. I was like, lies, lies. I
I
lost
also
my
am
place.
convinced I like miss the call half the time they send them back, so it doesn't work for me. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite was like, there's one that called me back randomly, like 8 hours later. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? I forgot that I even called you. Eight
Yeah. Well, your place
hours?
in line was just really, really far back.
So
Yeah.
it's very, very long line. Very long
Yeah. I
line.
also do you remember that thing? I feel like when I was younger, this was like a myth that I heard, which is like you start to swear on like a when you're on hold and they'll like pick it up faster because you're angry. I don't know if that's real or not, but I remember hearing that.
I just like I'll start to just click zero until I can't click it anymore. I call it the good
Yeah.
old hack, good old hacking. But yeah,
Yeah.
on the way we talk to these machines is always so fascinating to me.
Yeah, I get really frustrated in particular for the like national brands. Like let's say I need to like I want to talk to somebody at like I feel like one example is like a pharmacy or like a bank. You like call the number and they put you on like a national line. And it's like, no, I really needed to talk to like
My
the
local.
bank that I'm going to, like the or the like the local pharmacy to see what was going
Oh
on.
yeah, that happened to me with a package pickup. And they were like, "Oh, is this an Amazon delivery or something else?" I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "Okay, here's the Amazon call line." I was like, "This relates to Amazon, but I'm not asking you for like Amazon tracking." So then I
Yeah.
had to like recall back. It was just so I do think there's definitely that balance on yes, these devices, these flows help you out, but you can't be hyper dependent on it to the point where it diminishes the customer experience. So,
Yeah, and I my hope is that some of the AI stuff, because like I don't think like we talked to a bunch of startups about how they're using AI with a lot of this tech, and like I don't think that AI is truly going to like replace the need for people, but like you can get a good way with better AI through the system, and like we see it in like some of the like automated phones trees are like worse than others, right? Some of them are pretty good and they'll put you through to somebody pretty quick because they can tell that that's what you need. Some of them can't quite understand, and you have to like spend 20 minutes trying to like navigate them and figure out how to do it. So my hope is that with the kind of Gen AI stuff that's coming out,
mhm.
a lot of those systems will get better. And I know they are. I've already seen some really cool examples of like um, people using like generative AI on a phone call with like 11 labs crazy voices and some other stuff. So there's some fun stuff happening for sure, but I hope it just keeps getting better and better.
Yes, and that the computers don't take over. JK.
I mean,
Are
have
we
they
are we
already?
even on I was like, are we even on this stream? Did we create a rendition of ourselves, using what is it? Sora?
Yeah, I know. I
Artificial.
actually kind of like thought about that at one point where like with these streams there's enough content that somebody could like copy our voices, which is kind of wild.
Wow. So we wouldn't. Wow. Would they
Yeah.
call it BC? ABC testing. BC.
Maybe.
Do
Who
they?
knows what they would do? Yeah.
Who
I
knows? Who
remember,
knows?
I don't know why this just popped in my head, but at some point, my grandma got like a scam call. And
Oh.
background is like, I'm very close to my father, and I'll tell him anything. I don't get embarrassed like talking to him about stuff very often. And, they did the whole thing where it was like, they call my grandma and they're like, she's like, you don't sound like my grandson. And they're like, oh, I have a cold. And then they were like, you know, she's the person on the phone was like, I need money. And she's like, ask your dad. And then the person was like, I'm embarrassed. And they're like, you're not my grandson. So I think,
You're like,
maybe we can just help prevent scammers by cultivating better relationships.
I love it. It all comes back to relationships. I love also how your grandmother was like, "Oh no, this is not the Alex I know,
Yeah,
not
she's
at
like,
all."
I'm not the one you're calling. Like, I'm
Mm.
not your phone, or I'm not your one call from jail here. Like, she knows. Um,
she's like, this is very clear. You
yeah.
are not, you're not my
Or maybe we
folks.
should all have like passcodes. Like Bianca, if I
Okay.
ever call you and like I won't say it online, but maybe we'll come up with a passcode and you'll be like, okay,
Okay.
this is really Alex.
You'll
Let's
know.
make sure.
You'll know.
Yeah,
You'll know.
yeah. Isn't
That
it kind of weird
okay.
though that like we have to filter our like communications a little bit through that lens of like, is this really the person that I'm talking to trying to reach out to me? That's kind of a weird time.
It was, oh my gosh. I was thinking about, you had asked me for something, but the way that you asked me for it the other day. So you were sharing something with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, did someone hack our internal communication tool? Like, I was like, am I talking to Alex? I was like, I'll text message you just to make sure.
Yeah,
But
that was pretty funny.
the fact that I was literally so like, is this real? Is this really you? But then I was like, okay. I will say the exclamation points like sounding like a product was like, this does not sound like Alex. So
Yeah, I do appreciate your multi-factor authentication. You're like, I'm going to text you to make sure this is really you. And I was like, yes, it's me. But, if I'm being honest, I don't, I feel I'm glad that you took those precautions because better safe than sorry
oh,
with these things.
absolutely.
And
Oh,
especially now
absolutely.
that, Chef Brent might already have AI copies of us. So
Wow.
that's
So am I
real.
really is this Alex? Is this
Yeah.
Alex? Is this Bianca? Who knows?
Consent is very important. Our team gets together every year. We call it the DevNet Summit, and it happened last May. And somebody did a little bit of like a I don't know if it was like a gag, but basically showing us how crazy some of the stuff was. And the person who Kiara, who's like the leader of the DevNet, wasn't able to make it, and he cloned her voice and then had AI answering questions for her, and like half the people in the room thought it was actually her on the phone. It was pretty
That
wild.
was
Yeah,
and it was so, I think what was so scary but also cool was even the way that she would answer the questions, it was answering similar to that, and that to me was just like, oh, okay, this is, it starts to learn you, it starts to know you. I will
yeah.
say, definitely, if you had a like an Alex AI copy, definitely there's a Wilco reference somewhere in there. I'm probably referencing a K drama, or or some
Okay.
food or some food. Then like, there's probably, that would be a trend,
Yeah,
within
make the same.
within
See, like that's how you'll know if it's an AI. Are they making bad dad jokes? Like, is there something going on there that's just like a little bit cringy? Because I don't know if they're going to be able to replicate the dad jokes and like the silliness that I do. Maybe you never know. It might
You
get
never
there.
know. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. We'll see. We will
dad
see.
joke AI is coming,
Dun, dun, dun.
coming for all of us dads who make bad jokes.
That sounded a little scary. Is that the start of a horror movie? Dad, dad joke? I'm like, starting the
No,
feature film, you know?
yeah.
Okay,
By the way, did
that
you
is,
see that video of Figure, the robot?
ooh, no, not yet. Not yet. Have, let's
I
see.
almost like Chef Brent. What do you think? Should I pull it up and should we watch it on stream? Is that kosher? I don't know.
I don't know, but
So
hold on. Let's see.
I wonder if other people have seen it on stream too. It's a robot
Mhm.
that has ChatGPT running on it. Um, I'm not passing sound, so we won't be able to do that. But
No,
go
you're
check it
fine.
out. It's a
I'm
2 minute
looking.
video, and like you know, you can watch it later, Bianca. We can talk about. But it's this. So first of all, just background for everybody on here that doesn't know. I have a background in robotics, so I went back to grad school a couple of years ago and studied robotics and artificial intelligence and how those work together. And I specifically stayed away at that point from manipulation robots because they're really hard. Having things move around and like figuring out how to like do grasp poses is like a serious challenge, which I learned about because then my first job after that was at a company that does grasping for robotics. So I saw how hard that is. And they're basically in this video having a conversation with this, humanoid robot, and like there's some stuff on the table, and they're like hey, can you give me something to eat? And the robot like picks up an apple and hands it to the person. And anyone should go watch it.
It
Because
is. I'm
it's
looking at some I caught some of those clips and I'm like, I'm a little concerned. But I'm
it's
also like
yeah.
the possibilities, especially in terms of cooking and making meals. Yeah, that one to me is just that would be exciting.
Yeah.
Meal prepping, meal planning, um,
Yeah.
even something, I will say, even something as simple as, I'm thinking about if you're making a baby bottle, right? So like that's a very straightforward process. You know the measurement. So that to me could be a non-overwhelming task or even
Mhm.
feeding, so I think it'll be interesting to see that
Yeah.
those engagement points.
I also like in robotics, there's a bigger debate in my mind, which is like, do you have a humanoid robot which can come in and like do what you do? Or do you like, so like, we went over to someone's house who has a kid around the same age as my daughter, and they had a machine that makes the bottles for them and like made it the right temperature. And I was like, so, or do you like have machines that are better at the specific thing? Um, uh, there you go, revertibles. As a father of three kids, what I wouldn't spend to have a robot get that damn formula bottle ready. Trust me, I feel that. So like stuff like that is real, but like I've always wondered, like, is the quadruped, is like the bipedal humanoid robot going to be good enough, fast enough, or are we going to have other things? Because like revertibles also asked, have I ever seen a robot just fall down? Standing and
Hmm.
walking is super complex. It is very, very complex. And so like I always thought that like quadruped robots, maybe that's the move, or maybe like a hybrid that can kind of like go down and crawl. Like there's so many different things. um no, I mean, Roberto was asked, do I think bipedal is even right? Like, probably not. The only reason we think bipedal is because we are like, if you want to get around efficiently, exactly, human bias. That's what Roberto is saying in chat. If you want to get around efficiently, a wheel is going to be your best bet. And if you want to be able to crawl, like climb over things, quadruped's the best bet. I think it was actually because we worked a little bit on this robot. I want to say it was. I got to find this robot, but there's a really cool quadruped robot out there that someone was designing that it has four legs and wheels, and so it could do both.
Yeah, it's
That
also
I
it's
thought was
also
super cool.
it's also like how much do we allow the tech to be the tech and humans to be humans versus everything that technology does has to just duplicate what we as
Mhm.
humans are doing. And I do think like understanding understanding like when does it need to overlap versus not.
Yeah,
So it's so that's like these are all good questions to be asking for sure.
yeah, and I think like, yeah, six legs is an option. There's just a lot of different like. I feel like we need to get out of our headspace that things need to look like us. Um,
Hmm.
like we have this
Yeah.
idea that because like it's there, like it should look like us.
Do you think
Which
do you think it's because people are fearful of, like, in my mind I'm like, if you start seeing like an insect robot, will that start to scare the children, right? Is that, you know, do you feel like that plays a part in
maybe,
terms of making it, less scary or
yeah.
more
Here,
approachable?
I'll share this video that we can watch while we're talking.
Okay.
I'm not sure it sounds fine. This is Hyundai made this one, and it's
Okay.
the robot. It's cool. This thing's sweet. So
Yeah.
it like has four wheels and then can like walk as well.
Mhm.
So like it can drive or like climb over stuff. Um, again, videos of the thing, like look at that. Like so, it's got the best of both worlds. Um, but yeah, I think like sci-fi informs a lot more of this stuff than we like to believe. Like I sometimes I
Mhm.
wonder like how much like people say like, oh, Star Trek predicted the future, like their tricorders were basically cell phones, and it's like, did it predict the future, or because someone saw it, was it then they decided to build it? So I think like there's both sides of this, but I really appreciate people being
Mhm.
creative. Like this is one of the coolest designs I've ever seen, and it feels like it's got the best of both worlds, which I think is just like you know why not? Like, you don't have to build things that look like humans just because, Metropolis was the first movie that had a humanoid robot and that we called an android, and like we see them in Star Wars. But like, look, in Star Wars, R2D2 is like a communication droid, but like can barely move, right? Like, it's always a weird one. So yeah, I like the idea of like
Yeah.
coming out of and being more creative and finding other ways to engage with stuff. So
Yeah, it also is like testing things out allows you to understand what feels too far for a
mhm.
user and also what feels, what will they engage with. And you also just have to start somewhere. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
like actually an interesting discussion in terms of, how do we start to incorporate creativity into that conversation? I like it. It's a good, yeah, you have my wheels turning. I'm like,
Mhm.
what came first? What came first? Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, like I revertibles, you're dropping some good stuff. But yeah, even that aspect of what is feeling palatable. But I do feel like we're in a different era now, so people might be way more open to a wider variety. We talk to bots all the
Yeah.
time. Anything's possible. Anything's
I
possible at this
also
point.
There's something it's very different in cultures. Like if you look at people who do polls about like where are they like more accepting of AI and not, like in Asia they're way more accepting of AI than we are here. Like they're all up, like in India, astronomically high numbers of people who are like excited about it helping their workflow, which is super cool.
But it
So it's
also
like cultures change things too.
But I also even think we've been spoiled with human interaction. Yeah, like there are a lot of places that you're going to. A machine is making your meal. A machine is, you're not really engaging with a human as much. So, so like, you just never.
Robertables is asking if I'm
I
wearing
do.
pants. I am
I
wearing pants. I
we are.
put
We
pants
are.
on to come and join
We're
you.
real. Yes, we are. We are wearing real life clothes. But I think what's interesting too is that, yeah, like I think in some of the other cultures, they're so used to interacting with machines. So even that aspect of like, oh, this is a nice touch, right? So I do think over even currently we've started to get more used to talking to machines. Having I know there are some fast food chains that are leveraging more machines to build a burrito or build a bowl, right? So even honestly, even the cloud kitchens, and even though the cloud kitchens, they're not necessarily like someone's putting your food in a locker, but mentally, your food is just appearing in the locker and you're clicking something. You're not really engaging with someone delivering your food. So I do think over time, as we engage more with the machines, as I like to say, you'll start to see more accepted behaviors. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Like we're gonna get more used to it, right? Like at some point it's gonna be a little more commonplace. It already is. Like we order food on apps. Like we don't like I don't call a place to order food as much anymore.
Hmm.
Um, so like
Yeah.
that, it's definitely changing.
Yeah, let's see. We got a question. The topic of AI assisted shopping assistance has really been making. Oh, let me actually read it out loud for people to hear.
Yeah.
The topic of AI assisted shopping assistance has really been making me think of how accessible a company could make an experience for those who can't do interact with the traditional menu anxiety.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one. Like, can you use AI to just like have a conversation and pull out what somebody wants? Like, I mean, how often do you go to a restaurant and you're like, "Hey, what's good? Like, do you like this or this better?" And like, I think they try to recreate that on things like DoorDash with like what with reviews. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it can be a little bit of a challenge to like know what's right, and like you want a human telling you what to do. But then again, there's the other side where like sometimes you'll like be like, "Hey, what do you like on the menu?" You're like, "I don't want that. It's not what I'm gonna get." And then
Hmm.
you like feel a little bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but even when you think about a menu, like I love the restaurants where the folks are like, what do you typically go for? So even when folks are thinking about like, are you looking for more seafood? Are you looking for more meat, not well, seafood is meat. But, are you looking for more seafood? Are you looking for, a steak or something? And I do think we already are introducing those new user flows, and it is pulling out, are you more on the sweet side? Do you prefer something a bit more savory? So I do think over time you'll start to refine. Yeah, I do think you'll start to see folks pulling out that information to help them make better recommendations. And I do think we'll start to see that reflected even on online user
And
experience.
also, like, there's probably a personalization component to it, right? Like, menus can be really big. Some places have very, menus that are nice, but like, wouldn't it be cool if like you go to a restaurant and like they just like the menu that shows up? First of all, I don't like the phone menus that they all do with like QR codes, but like, I don't know, make personalized menus. But like, wouldn't it be cool if they were like, oh, like, hey Bianca, we know that you're like on a pescatarian diet right now. Like, what, like, here's the options that you would want to choose from. And then like we can also like, change these to fit your diet too. Like that would be really cool if there was like personalization on that level for some of these things.
I think
Um,
it's also moving away from, I think the current use of flow that people are used to are filters. But if you don't even know what you're filtering out or what you're filtering for, so I even think, you know, show me all the things with this,
yeah,
as we and essentially it could leverage that same concept of I'm helping you filter out these data points. But again, it's really pointing people in that right direction and making sure they're getting closer to what they actually want. And that to me is like, yeah, it
yeah.
is.
Sometimes that'd be nice for me for cooking too, because I love to cook. What I don't like to do is figure out what I'm gonna cook. So a lot of times I'll be like, "Hey, what do you want?" Like, you just need to tell me, and then I'll make it. But
So I've started to, even the way, like lately, I've been in some ways cooking that way. So I'll be like, I want something warm. I want something, maybe I want something a bit baked, or I want something a bit more spicy or flavor inspired. So it's interesting that it's like, yes, we have a baseline. So I know, okay, maybe I'm cooking um, some salmon or some steak. And then I'm like, okay, well, what flavors do I want to go with that? So even just like, how are you starting to layer on those different pieces? Yeah,
yeah, what are you cooking for dinner
option.
tonight?
Okay, so I am butternut squash. Thinking about a butternut squash and then potentially going to have that. So I want a fresh, garden fresh butternut squash, some avocado, and on the meat side, I think I might do some. I'm leaning into. I might do like some chicken. Some
Mhm.
chicken breast. Keep it simple, but flavor profile wise, I think I might go for like a mixing up the flavors. So typically you would have like a beef bulgogi, but I want to
Okay.
have those flavors, but with my
Chicken
chicken.
bulgogi?
Yeah. So like
Maybe
going
I'll
for
go
that.
maybe I'll do that. I love kitchen gadgets, and one of my favorites these days is I have a rotisserie in my oven. So I have a chicken, and I'm gonna rotisserie a chicken. Um, and maybe I'll try to do like a bulgogi sauce or something like that. That sounds fun.
Yeah. So just like playing around with that. I think I have some green beans. Yeah, some green beans. hmm
Yeah.
Um,
What do we got? Wait, so we got a bunch of stuff. Uber Eats. Chef Rents is good at pulling up recommendations. It is. I use DoorDash myself, but it is good. Um, Chef Rent City had a really good website app, or would have been back then. A good idea a long time ago that would still be relevant on this concept that would be relevant today. So yeah, so like yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and like I could ask ChatGPT, but right now, ChatGPT does not know what I like to cook. Like that would be the key. I think that some of this AI stuff's really going to change once we start to like have more personal things. I'm really curious to see how Apple comes at it, if they're like gonna know me
mhm.
better because they have all my data on my device. But yeah,
All the data.
yeah,
They also know how frequent I probably go to, certain stores. I will say I could actually, I mean, I could see Amazon doing some stuff. They have some data, some Whole Foods data
yeah.
around,
Like
yeah,
what I'm buying.
around around what I'm buying. So even being like, hey, over the past couple weeks, you've bought X number of things. I will say I don't only shop at, Whole Foods, but I do think, maybe I'm adding a local farmers market. So I even think that too is going to be interesting is like, how do you consolidate my you know, how do you consolidate
Yeah.
me across apps, which is why I feel like you said, Apple might be poised to do a good job of that
Hmm.
because they have so much, like they have this, they have, this,
Yeah.
all the things, right? So I do think the devices that are able to consolidate that
Yeah.
experience throughout.
And like,
Yeah.
yeah, things that can look at my like, because I use New York Times Cooking for a lot of my recipes, like things
Yeah.
that can look at that. Um, yeah. Oh, and then yeah, as Chef Brent saying, Apple now has the ski mask thing, the Apple Vision Pro. I'm sure that one day those will be a lot of fun, but that's not
Mhm.
how I'm spending my money right now.
No, you're like, yeah, no. So yeah, it'll be interesting because it's also the levels in whoa, Chef Brent, have you been testing out the vision? The vision. I was like, do you have an item for show and tell for the next summit? But yeah.
Yeah, if for the next stream, you can just send it to Bianca or I, and we can give a whole review of it on stream if you want.
Oh yeah, let us know. We'll be your tech testers. Tech testers. Say that. Tech testers, tech
Yeah,
testers, Yep, we'll say that like 10 times fast. But yeah. No, this is, I mean, we're in such an interesting and exciting time to me in terms of tech. And I feel like folks are getting excited again. And that to me
yeah.
feels cool. Yes, we're answering a lot of questions, but I do feel like folks are getting excited to build again. Folks are getting creative again. And like it feels like a good time. It feels like a good time to be building, to be creating.
Which is why we're here. So I think that's a
I
good.
promise. I promise you weren't set up to say that. It did just flow. But
No,
yes.
we're just of one mind. So like I think that's a great place to end it. But like, yeah, this is an exciting time, and we're excited to be here with all of you, finding ways to build stuff. So we'll keep building some stuff with AI. We're gonna in future episodes talk more with some of the founders that we've talked to that are leveraging AI. Definitely, if you're around, go check out the Twilio Startup Searchlight. I'll pull it up here, the little slide that I had prepared. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it'll
we'll
be
just make that bigger.
tomorrow.
Yeah. So like there's the QR code, or you can use 12.io/AI startup. Yeah, that's Bianca and I got to chat with some really amazing founders building really cool stuff. So we'll try to incorporate more of those conversations into these as well. But like, thank you everybody for participating in the chat. Thanks for
Yes.
watching. I had a lot of fun today. I hope you had fun,
Yes.
Bianca, and I hope everybody
Agreed.
else participating had fun as well. Thank you all.
For sure. See you soon.